Norm Rumack and the Greek Billy Georgatsakis. We're expecting him to be by shortly. He's caught up with some personal stuff he's dealing with, but we're looking forward to having Billy join us as soon as he can. And with me, of course, the producer, the head honcho from the esteemed Fired Up Network, Joe Pasek, joining me. And we're hoping to have another great guest join us shortly here on Rumack and the Greek, brought to you, of course, by COSA, the Ontario Standardbred Horse Racing Association, great and loyal sponsors for Billy and I. And, of course, Nikki, the king of carpets. So we're very blessed and fortunate to have great sponsors like that and great viewers and listeners like you. And Joseph Pasek, longtime friend, worked together. I sort of helped kickstart his career a bit, accelerate.
You did, not sort of. I'll give the due. You gave me my break on the Fan 590, and then I carried you for the rest of my time there. So, and then now Billy's carrying you. And by the way, Norm, I spoke to Marty Roberts. This show, Billy wants to make it in memory of Chester Miles, a player who plays for his East York Bulldogs. He passed away. So condolences to his friends and family, and Billy will be on here hopefully soon to discuss more of this.
All right, for sure. Okay, so I think there's a chance we're getting another guest joining us shortly. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Hopefully. All I'm going to say is who let the dogs out, all right? Who let dogs out? So that's all. Hopefully he'll come on very soon. But, Norm, what do you want to talk about? Is it golf leaves golf, like you say? Is it golf leaves golf?
Well, yeah, it is until training camp, that's for sure. Now there's all this talk about I saw the thing online that everybody else saw. Well, Austin Matthews, the rumor is, or the suggestion is, he'll resign if Kyle Dubas is staying. But, the Leafs still got this, the Leafs have the opportunity this summer because no other team can talk to Austin Matthews other than the Leafs this summer. If he doesn't resign, and it sounds like he wants to, then next summer other teams could put in their offers. But, the Leafs already have salary cap issues, and Austin's going to want the max. He's going to want to supersede or be right up there with Connor McDavid, right, as the highest paid player or one of them. He's going to try and get as close as he can to that. Well, the Leafs, as they are right now, have salary cap issues. So unless they're planning on moving one of their, they got to at some point look at the contracts, right, for Nylander. And then forget how much longer Marner's contract goes for. So if they're going to spend all the money on those guys, how are they going to add the depth that they're obviously lacking? It's like robbing Peter to pay. At some point, they got to straighten out this salary cap issue, whether it's Dubas or the man on the moon. So if Dubas is staying, I'm assuming Matthews is saying Dubas is staying because he knows Dubas will give him whatever he wants, like blank check, guaranteed. Guaranteed. I'm sure he will. That's why he wants him to stay.
Norm, I'm going to break some news here. Usually I break it for the Fired Up Network, and I have a great track record, Norm. You know that.
Yeah, I know.
All right. According to my sources, I'm very surprised if Dubas is still here, and for that matter, Brendan Shanahan. I don't know about Sheldon Keefe. And hold on, Norm. Stall for time. Billy's calling me, all right?
Stalling for time. Well, we'll see what happens, but as we try to get Billy back on here. Yeah, I don't know what the Leafs are going to do with the salary cap conundrum and whether or not, of course, it remains to be seen. I've heard rumors that Dubas.
All right, wait. Tell them who's your special guest, Norm. Look at that.
Is that the one and only? The one and only. Out of Georgetown University. Of course, sort of a favorite school of my alma mater, Syracuse University. We used to be battling each other. Now we're more like long-lost buddies. Junkyard Dog, I miss you, man. It's so great to see you.
Come on. Norm is glad to be back here on the Norm Fired Up Show. I miss you, Norm. It's always going down when Joe Pesh is on the line and on the horn. And I'm glad to be here, man. Fired Up is doing big things, and I wanted to be a part of it. So thanks for having me on the show, Norm. What's happening?
Great. Well, listen, we're looking at the conference finals in the NBA. So let's start off with that. All right, okay. Let's start off in the East. How surprised or not surprised? No one's surprised by Boston. People are questioning about some of their games with Philly, but Tatum got the job done the other night, right? 51 points, good for him. All right, but how surprised are you that the Miami Heat are going to be facing the Boston Celtics?
Norm, I'm shocked. I'm shocked because, Miami Heat were basically battling to get in the playoffs. And not only did they take out some of the best teams, but they also took out my New York Knicks. I mean, come on, who was going to predict that? And to go back to the Philly Boston series, you got Joel Embiid who gets the MVP, and you got Tatum who got maybe 2 or 3 votes for MVP, and scores 51 and shows he's the MVP of the East. I mean, come on, this is a game 7. You got to show up and show out. Like, you got 2 players in James Harden and Joel Embiid. James Harden had 42, game 1 without Joel. So, and he started, just basically talking about the fact that they needed to go ahead and get rid of Boston and take them out and move on in the series. You get to a game 7, and both of these guys just goose eggs. They just, they didn't show up. They weren't there. They didn't do what their teams needed them to do. Then, Norm, the next day, what do they say? Well, I wouldn't say the next day. Just following the game, you got Joel Embiid who stands up there and says, hey, me and James Harden can't do it alone. It takes 5 players, this and that. Now, listen, love Joel Embiid, love his tenacity on the defensive end as well as the offensive end. But after the game, you have to take the heat. At least he actually came to the press conference, because I don't even have to get into so many, stars not even coming to press conferences after the fact. But he came to the press conference. But then you got to do the next step, Joel. As a league MVP, you got to take it all. You got to say, it was on me. I did this. I didn't do enough for my team, my city, whatever, and then move on. So that was the one thing where I kind of said, man, listen, bro, you got to come and step up to the plate. Don't put it on anybody else but yourself. You're getting a big check. You got to carry your team over. Jason Tatum did what he had to do. This kid had 30 plus points, at the beginning of the third period. Not to mention, they go on a 20-something run in the third to say, look, they came out of that locker room. It was 55-55 at the 11-10 minute mark of the third. And then the next thing you know, it's 60-88. Norm, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? That's the game right there. That's the game. The game was decided in the third quarter, right out of the locker room. Jason Tatum said, yo, it's me. I am him. I'm him. I'm the dude that everybody needs to be tuning into. If they're not on, if they're not on Fired Up, they got to come check me out on TNT. That's basically what he was saying right there. Right there.
All right. So I'm going to pick up on what you were saying, Junkyard Dog, about Joel Embiid. We saw, the NBA panel with Kenny the Jet, Shaq, Charles Barkley. They were talking, remember when Milwaukee got knocked out, and they were talking about the other Greek, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and his press conference, I think most people agree with the panel. He took some hard questions, but his answers were legit. Maybe not what the journalists want to hear, but it's like, say, look, there's ups and downs, it's part of the growing. In contrast to Joel Embiid, do you think Giannis handled the demise or the end of Milwaukee's playoff run? Do you think he handled it for the press and the public the right way?
Giannis Antetokounmpo is dog pound. Yo, Norm, he did what he had to do. He let them know. He said, yo, guys, it wasn't a failure of a season, which it was not. He played through some injuries. He got hurt. They still battled through. They did not come up with the outcome that everybody anticipated, nor did he anticipate. And he took it on the chin, came to the press conference, let everybody know, yeah, we're going to get better. I'm going to get better. Yes, things happen. I don't, always achieve what we go out there to achieve. But I love his comeback to the presser, just letting them know, just like, the people in the press aren't failures when they don't come up with the Pulitzer Prize or whatever the awards are in the press, he said the same thing. I'm still here. I'm still battling. I'm still coming back next year ready to fight. And, I expect them to come back and do big things. I think they're going to get a good coach. I don't think the coaching decision I think the coaching decision really strikes a nerve, Norm, and you can maybe tap into this. The guy lost his brother during the playoffs. I mean, he's lucky. They're lucky he was even on the sidelines. And I don't think, jobs and people in the world take these kind of things into account. The man needs some time to grieve. Not to mention, you lost a very close loved one. And he battled through, didn't even know anything about it. We find out a few days later, oh, he lost his brother. Really? During the playoffs? Stop it. And then on top of that, you fire him? That's a little tough. This is a guy that got you to the promised land. You were sitting on, a 1970s championship to start with. Like, you got one of the best players, MVP ridden, in Giannis, the Greek freak. You got a good clientele of players. You got a good point guard, shooting guard. I mean, you got a good core. So, yeah, you got to take that into account, not chop the man at his knees at the first sign of defeat. So,
okay, Norm, hold on.
That's my 2 cents, Norm, from the dog.
JYD has to leave, but JYD, he'll be on the Fired Up Network hopefully tomorrow. But JYD, spill the beans. We and the Junkyard Dog, Fired Up Network, and the Junkyard Dog are working on something. JYD, and before you finish, we got the host of this show, Billy the Greek, coming on here. JYD, go ahead, tell everybody about the major announcement.
What's up, Greek the Freak? But listen up, man. I wanted to make sure I give everybody who's tuning in on the Fired Up Network some major breaking news. The dog pound's coming to the Fired Up Network. That's right. IP Famba, I am dropping on Wednesday, and tune in. It's going to be buckle up and be ready to rock and roll, because JYD's coming with the full arsenal of not only NBA legends, but past, current, and current news. It's going down on IP Famba, and that stands for intellectual property for athletes, made by athletes. I mean, it's going down, Norm. We've been talking a lot about colleges and NIL and this and that, but there's no voice. There's no voice out here. We're getting ready to spill the beans. Me, Joe, Fired Up Network, Greek, Norm, it's going down. We're gonna shut it down. So,
all right, JYD, hold on. This guy, the Greek, is the biggest fan of one of your teammates. I'll let him have the final question. Go ahead.
First of all, JYD, nice to see you, man. I don't know, fellas. Hi, Norm. Hi, Joe. I don't know if this ever happened to you. So anyways, I get home from work. I got an actual job. Get home, wake up about 6, right? So I get home about 5:15, AC on full blast. So I say, you know what? Let me close my eyes for 5-10 minutes, man, right? Just to get ready. If I knew you were on, I would have never went to bed, I'll tell you that. So anyways, I look up, I open my eyes, and it's 6:15. I go, geez, man. Anyways, the long and the short of it is God bless you. And the best thing about you, the number one thing about you, obviously you're not from Syracuse, man. That's what we know. Right?
True that.
Right?
I love the Q's.
Yeah, well, we got something to say to you. Obviously, yeah, long time fan of not only yourself, but every single guy that's ever worn the Hoya uniform, man. I'm talking about mid 80s, Patrick Ewing era. Georgetown was big up here, in Toronto, believe it or not. Georgetown was a name brand. So yeah, Georgetown, Syracuse, St. John's, right? Big East basketball, if you remember, was bigger than the NBA at one point in time, almost, right?
Right.
At one point in time, it was the best thing since sliced bread, right? And with that, obviously, my favorite athlete and probably one of the greatest competitors that I've ever seen from afar is Allen Iverson, right? Without a doubt. I love that guy. If I've ever seen in my life a fiercer, forget about talent, man, but a fiercer competitor that laid all on the line, I've never seen him. I don't know about you, man, because you've seen them all too, right? How does he rate to you just in that area?
Amen, brother. Hey, look, Freak. Greek, you're talking my language. Allen Iverson had to have been the most pound for pound, strongest, toughest competitor on the planet to ever walk the earth. I say that with all due respect to the Michael Jordans, the LeBron James, these physically gifted specimens like we call Shaq. This guy was going up against titans. He was going up against the Kobe's. He was going up against the Tracy McGrady's. He was going up against the Penny Hardaway's, the Grant Hills. I'm talking every person that was lined up as a Hall of Famer, Tim Duncan's, Tony Parker's, like he had to go through them all. And it was impressive to see at under 6 feet. And notice I did say under 6 feet, because they listed them as 6 feet, but everybody in the world knows the NBA always is good for an extra inch to 2 inches to the good, right? There's only people like myself, Kevin Durant. When we say 6'9", we meant 6'9". Like Kevin Durant was like, I'm 6'9", but technically he was 7 foot at the top, still growing. But outside of us, oh yeah, if I'm 6'9" right now, legit, I'm actually 6'11", right? Going in and putting that on my resume. So Allen Iverson he's definitely pound for pound the best that's ever laced him up from the bottom to the top. And I say that with all due respect for all the greats, the Muggsy Bogues and Isaiah Thomases and anybody else that was in that era. Nate Archibald, like much respect, we bow down. But AI, he not only changed the game, he changed the culture. He brought a new dilemma and excitement from that small man's game. And he had everybody on the planet wanting to be him.
Including myself up here in Toronto. Like I'll tell you this, the first drop of the shoes, I don't know. I must have went number one. I don't know. You put on those shoes for me anyways. I'm too old to get embarrassed now and to get shy, but so be it. What the hell? Shame that, you put on those shoes, walk around. Like I'm just walking around just for fun, I drove anyways. I drove 2.5 hours to find the last pair somewhere. Anyways, the long and the short of it, every now and then you see a human being from afar that checks all the boxes. Heart, talent, a little bit of swag, change the world, change everything, right? And again, God bless him. Whoever get the chance to get him on here, man, that's on the bucket list. Let me ask you before you get going. Obviously, you're a busy guy. Won't take up too much of your time. Let me ask you before we get going. There's still a lot of Georgetown fans up in this area, right? They're rapidly diminishing, obviously. Ed Cooley coming in, Patrick Ewing going out. Where do you see the franchise? And again, doesn't it break your heart a little bit? And can Cooley get Georgetown back on the map?
Okay, well, let me tell you this. It broke my heart the last few seasons. This season in particular, because I moved back to D.C. My daughters go to Georgetown, so Jeremiah's older sisters both there playing volleyball. Shout out to Giselle Williams, who's our up-and-coming All-American in volleyball. But the basketball team, I was able to see more up close and in depth this year with Patrick. So I came to practices. I was there at the games. They blessed me with, front row tickets to all the games, which I really appreciate as an alumni. But now I'm too close for comfort because I can see everything from the rooter to the tutor. So I'm in practices trying to help out Patrick, let him know, hey, man, I'm here to assist. We're going over plays. I'm trying to, get into the huddle, just, get into that practice and try to up it. The only problem I had, which wasn't Patrick's fault, was that I had a torn labrum. So I'm in there. I'm in the practices with a sling on. Like, look, guys, you got to step out on this screen. I can't half move, but I'm trying. So anyways, long story short, we saw what happened in the season. He was let go, and then they bring in Ed Cooley. Okay, got to meet Ed Cooley. Meet him. Guy's on fire. He's telling all the alumni, come back, do this and that. We're here to fire up this galvanize this Hoya base of fans, student athletes, students, and everybody. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. I like the way what he's talking. So I go to his first practice, Greek. I go to his first practice, and Norm will appreciate this, especially Syracuse. They'll appreciate this. man, he had them kids like gasping. I mean, they were like, I was like, yeah, you need a life support because you look, the Hoya fan base is on life support. So I'm glad to see you breathing like this because I know, look, and within a week, we had I don't know how many kids in the portal. Like, oh my goodness, this is about to change in Hoyaville. So yes, Ed Cooley is the guy for the job. We're excited. He's fired up the base. He's hit the alumni trail. He was up in New York. I flew to New York, be with them up there. We were down here firing up the base in DC and the DMV. I mean, we're getting recruits in. You know, we almost snagged Hunter Dickinson. Now we know that was a big ticket. Everybody doesn't see he signed for $2 million for 2 years, right? I mean, the way these college basketball things are going with NIL, it's must see TV. I mean, even in the girls' game, Caitlin Clark, she got me tuned in with the bag of popcorn, just eating like, what is going on? This girl can hoop. So to see Hunter Dickinson almost go to Georgetown, I mean, almost. We were like in his top 5 of finalists that, you know, but it came down to the money. It came down to the moolah. You know what I'm talking about, Norm? That money you've been flashing around at Syracuse for a whole hot minute. Georgetown has never had that moolah to flow into anybody's face. And I mean, let me tell you something. I was there. They showed him a bag. Now, it wasn't the same bag that Kansas had, but you know, Kansas is, you know, their NIL money is like a stock market in the NBA. I mean, they've had a large cap for a minute, and Storm and Norm knows this. But that's all I'll say about that. But granted, Georgetown, you know, we're coming back. We got a little bit of coin we can start throwing around legally. And that's what IP Famba channel is going to be discussing on the Fired Up Network, because I got the inside scoop. I know what's going down. Do you know what's going down? Because I do.
Hey, JYD, I got to ask you a question. You'd probably remember Adrian Autry playing for Syracuse because it was the mid-'90s, right? And he was on
the coach.
That's right. So I got to ask you, know Adrian as an opponent. He's paid his dues as an assistant. Yep. And I know he's been going to all these tournaments where the prospects, the kids who they might be able to get to go to Syracuse, they got to do their visits and whatnot. How do you think over the long haul, Adrian Autry, and of course he's got some, you know, he's got I think a good associate group of staff there. But how do you think Adrian will do as a head coach? Sounds like he's got tremendous potential. How do you size him up?
I size him up this way. You know, he's been under the Jim Boeheim tree for a long time. And anybody with that kind of resume and, you know, God bless Jim Boeheim, because I almost went to Syracuse because of him. Very respected in the world of coaching, very respected amongst the players. So I already know Adrian is going to do a swell job and an outstanding job. The one thing I can tell you is this. What I do have is the inside track. Because his wife happened to be a Georgetown Hoya, okay? And she happened to be one of my classmates. So guess what? Whatever Hoya, you know, leftovers from the pool of athletes out there from recruits, I can guarantee you Adrian's going to get them. And that should be a good crop because we always had good players. Georgetown and Syracuse, that's how we were always one of the best teams. So shout out to Adrian. I do see him doing big things.
All right.
You'll be back here on the Fired Up Network, and we're all excited. It's a pleasure to have some of your shows on the Fired Up Network. And working with Norm, we go back, 25, 30 years. And the Greek is the latest sensation. The latest sensation. He is the best that nobody has ever heard of. All right?
There you go.
You know what? That ain't far from the truth. Absolutely. So like I'm rushing to get on here, obviously, and I tune in and I see your face, and it's like what a pleasure, man. You know, like it's funny. I'm just a sports guy through and through, right? And when I get a chance in doing this to connect with people that I used to watch through the TV, kind of get to laugh with them, get to know them, what a treat, man, and what a pleasure, man. And I'm glad I share that moment with you, and I really, really appreciate your smile, the way about you, and the Roots, man. So the two of us got to get together and push Norm to the side, man. We don't need no Syracuse blood around here. Right?
I'm with you. And thank you for having me on your show, man. You and Norm, you guys keep doing it big. You win one of the best in the business. Joe gets it done, okay? This guy is all about the boardroom as well as the in front the camera look, and he's doing a great job. I appreciate him for getting us on the Fired Up Network, giving me and the Dog Pound a shot. We appreciate him. He's doing it big, and he's big time Dog Pound.
Hey, the Greek wants to join the Dog Pound. Can you bark up like a dog? Come on, Greek. Show Junkyard Dog you can bark.
At this point in time, before I bark, I got to work on my meow, man. That's a legend I'm talking to. So
all right, JYD, I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey,
sounds good. Thank you, brother.
JYD, bless you. God bless you. Good to see you, my friend.
God bless you too, man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, JYD.
Yes, sir.
All right, Greek, before I'll go and let you and Norm do, I know you sent me a message here. You could see in the bottom of the scroll there, you're dedicating, and what a great way to start this show. You're dedicating the show to somebody. Maybe you want to elaborate on that before we start off. So go ahead.
Yeah, today obviously was a difficult day. So sometimes, like you get messages that catch you completely off guard. And anybody that we know, when we have anybody in our circle, be it in our immediate family, our baseball family, or just a part of our circle, and we get a message early in the morning that they're no longer with us. It's a shock. Kind of makes you wonder, makes you look in the mirror, and it makes you realize that here today, gone tomorrow, only here for a short time. With that, my good friend of the East York family, Shay, Chester, we love you. Senior baseball team at East York, and again, you always as one of the elder statesmen in the East York family. Even though you're still in your mid-30s, you've been around baseball at East York for the last 15 years. You help out anywhere you can, and you really no matter where you are and where you go, you make that place a little bit better. You light up the place whenever you come. You had that kind of presence and that kind of personality, man. So it's just really tough to get through today, and just kind of thinking about you, and just on behalf of the whole East York family, rest easy, my friend. We really miss you, and we're really just shocked, and the words that I'm coming out of my mouth can't do you real justice, man.
Greek, take a break. We'll throw into the sponsors and the COSA, highlight of the week. So take a break for 2 seconds, get composure, and we'll be back with Rumack and the Greek in just a few seconds.
And they're off. J.K. Willpower is pushed hard. Lion Snyder is firing fast from between horses, and Good Living is kicking out well for Corey Callahan. Racing Hill gets in the early mix as well, and Control the Moment stays close to him. He's now fourth as they move on to the opening turn. Another daily copy drops back a bit in fifth. Boston Red Rocks racing in sixth. J.K. Willpower aborts his leave attempt. He's racing in seventh. Eighth is Check 6, followed up by Manhattan Beach and Talk Show the trailer. Lion Snyder the leader, 26-3 for the opening quarter. They head onto the backstretch, and now it's Racing Hill is moving up for Brett Miller, and Racing Hill takes the top. Control the Moment following him up on the outside. So it's Racing Hill to the lead. Immediate pressure from Sears, and Control the Moment. Control the Moment zips past on the outside to take command. Lion Snyder back racing in third, and these three are winging on the lead here. Good Living is 2 lengths further back in fourth. Boston Red Rocks first up on the outside. Control the Moment at the half, and 53-2. 26-4 in that second quarter, and Control the Moment leads at a length onto the far turn. Boston Red Rocks grinding first over, up into third on the outside. He's about 2.5 lengths from the front. J.K. Willpower is following him up. Up on the outside is Check 6. Shuffled back is Good Living. He's now racing in seventh. Then it's Manhattan Beach, another daily copy, and Talk Show trails the field, and it's Control the Moment who's a length and a half clear coming to 3/4. In behind is Racing Hill. 1:21-2 the 3/4 time, and they come to the top of the stretch, and it's Control the Moment who gets some separation. He's on top now with a 3-length lead with an 1/8 of a mile to go. Racing Hill chasing. Boston Red Rocks on the outside. Check 6 on the far outside. Control the moment of 16th out. Racing Hill is gaining. Control the moment. Racing Hill surging. Control the moment. Racing Hill coming. Racing Hill control the moment. Very tight. Control the moment. Racing Hill second. Check 6 third. Maybe Manhattan Beach fourth. 1:48.2.
Now, you know the name KOSA TV, an industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. KOSA TV has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. And if you're looking to bet your favorite Ontario track, check out hpibet.com. KOSA TV, taking Ontario racing global.
Oh, geez, there we go. Blocking the sun. I'm Billy the Greek, joined by my co-host, Norman Rumack. What a nice treat, Norm. Nice to see you, buddy. Nice to see you.
Sorry about your luck.
Thank you, Norm. Thank you. Absolutely. And, like you've been around long enough to know that, I'm sure you've experienced those unexpected calls. And when you get them, no matter what they are, they do something to you. They do something to you. And suffice it to say, it's done something to me.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I obviously, mom and dad are gone, and you don't expect that. I'm at age 68, but I've had guys I know, and used to hang out with 3 of them, in total, who've committed suicide. Actually, it's 4 guys who took their own lives, at pretty young ages, and you're always left the rest of your life spinning your heads like, what? That. They always seem like the happiest, the most confident, the most successful. It's bizarre. It's like the ones I can think of that committed suicide were the last ones.
Hold on. Now, in this case, again, just for clarification, there was in Shay's passing, there was no mention of suicide. It was again too early to know at this point. For me, it doesn't really matter. He's gone. Yeah. But from what I understand, it was of natural causes, passed away in his sleep. But again, in any way, it's affected. It's I don't know. You lose somebody that was a part of your circle, albeit at a distance. It doesn't matter because I feel the pain not only of him, but the people that are like really close to him and loved him, and like it's got to be a shock. You get a call that a kid in his mid-30s is not with us tomorrow night, and no matter what, man, whatever the case is, that's shocking stuff, right? That hits the
well, you're right. No matter there's no good way to lose a loved one or a friend or an acquaintance. They're all bad, Billy. Whether it's illness, self-inflicted, they're all bad. And the loved ones that remain, the friends that remain, are left to sort out how they deal with it and how they can best, go on and honor that person's memory. So we all go through it, and there's no good way to lose someone. They're all bad.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Godspeed. So again, it came in obviously better late than never. I don't know what I missed, but I know what I got. Other than this, look pretty good, eh? For fresh out of bed. This is how I wake. Look at this guy. This is how I wake up, eh? I wake up better looking than most people that go out on a Saturday night after spending 3 hours in the mirror. What a gift I got. Anyways, speaking of gifts, this is a segue. Hold on. You've been talking. I know when I wasn't here, you talked a lot. I'm going to watch the replay. You probably did a lot of talking. That time's coming to an end when I come on here. Speaking of gifts, the Toronto Maple Leafs, God's team of the National Hockey League, give the Toronto Maple Leaf fans yet another parting gift. A 5-game exodus from the Stanley Cup playoffs. Again, before we move forward, this is the first time we've been on since the events. How would you eulogize this Toronto season, and how should we feel? How should Maple Leaf fans feel today? How should they have felt upon elimination? Is there area for some kind of growth? Is there area for the notion that you've passed the first round, that it was a tough series? What if I told you, Norm, wait a minute, okay, Leaf fans, yeah, I know it hurts to lose, but if you traded goaltenders and Bobrovsky was on the Leafs, you'd probably still be playing now. So is it just a matter of one guy? What do you do, Norm? Sum it all up.
Well, there's a number of ways of summing it all up. One is our best players weren't our best players on a consistent basis, were they? And, that's Florida had their best players. You talk about the goalkeeping, show up when they needed them. And sometimes it was timely hits or just, intimidating hits, right? That's kind of, they're to me, the current Panthers, even though they had a horrible, for the most part, regular season. They finally woke up in time, just got in under the wire. But they're kind of like, a modern-day version of the Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies, but not in a gooning kind of way, but just they are intimidating because they finish their checks, they hit. They're going to be in your face, and it works, and they're obviously highly skilled. But in terms of the Leafs, I'm already seeing, or as you've probably seen, Joseph Pasic's seen, if it's accurate, Austin Matthews saying, well, he'll extend his contract if Kyle Dubas is back. Well, it's like, so it's basically he's saying to MLSE, you better have Kyle back because otherwise I'm playing the field. But to me, if it's Rogers and Bell, you got to ask yourself, well, has Kyle done enough to stay on? And it's like, yes, there was a big step forward getting past Tampa Bay, but the way they kind of Florida is like, okay, there was 2 overtime games. I mean, wasn't an embarrassment, but they still got whether Dubas goes or stays. And I don't know if we take Matthews at his word that, Dubas doesn't stay, he's gone. I think money's going to talk, but they've still got to resolve this salary cap issue, because to me, Billy, that's part of the problem. They can't. Dubas does add some decent players who've helped, but you're never, to me, Billy, going to get the Leafs to that, I'm talking Stanley Cup level, until you have the cap space where you can really, really add the depth that you need in multiple positions, not just one position.
Whoa. Add the depth that you need in multiple positions. That's the issue that you've suggested in this.
One of them.
The cap space prohibits them from doing this. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
Right. So you added, you added O'Reilly. You added Luke Shen.
Yeah.
You added McCabe. You added Lafferty. You added God knows who. The only thing you didn't add is Norm Rumack and his cousin Bob. And so the cap issue, notwithstanding, I'm sick and tired. And this is what really bothers me about Leaf fans and hockey people in general. If you notice, Norm, there's only 1 out of 32 clubs that wins the Stanley Cup, and Toronto's just 1 out of 32. We look at Colorado. Look at what happened out in Edmonton. Look at a lot of clubs don't get there. When you take a look at this Maple Leaf team, and again, they get a lot of criticism, their core 4, and I'm one of them, right? But here's what I see. I didn't see them get out-competed. I didn't see them get out-muscled. Here's what I saw. If you just on 2 guys alone, if Bobrovsky wore a Leaf uniform and Radko Gudas was a Leaf, you take those 2 players, you put them on the Leafs, and the Leafs probably beat Florida in 4 to 5 games.
But you said the same thing about Nick Paul last year. Billy, every year, don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming or attacking. I'm just saying every year for the Leafs, there's always 1 or 2 rationalizations you can use. Well, if we would have had Nick Paul. Well, and then, the players you just mentioned from Florida. Yeah, but Billy, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
What I'm telling you,
coulda, shoulda doesn't get you a parade. And that
Hold on. Don't make me fire you on the air. I could do that if I so desire.
that would be exciting, but it's a results-oriented business.
Hold on. But those guys that I'm talking about are not issues of salary cap restrictions to acquire a guy like Ryan. It's just a personnel move that the Leafs didn't see, couldn't pull off, whatever the case is. So again, as I'm watching the hockey, to me, those were the only differences in the series. You take a look at the fine line, right? And the line's so fine. Matthews has a chance, just like always. They can't get it done, but the line is so fine. Matthews got a chance in overtime in Game 5, right in front of the net. He buries that. All of a sudden, the narrative is different on him. He comes through. He doesn't score. They lose the game. He's a bum. The line is so fine between clubs, and nobody's giving Florida any credit. And I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you, number one, you beat the Bruins, 150-point club. You handled the Leafs in really 5-3-2 games, right? So let's not go completely overboard in terms of the disappointment. Number one, and number two, change is necessary. I'll agree with you. So if Norm Rumack's in the GM spot, where do you start the change at? Do you go all the way to the top? I don't want to bring back those four guys, but it's difficult for me to understand. Obviously, you want to let go of Tavares if you could, if you had your druthers. But
these are.
Where do you start?
Well, if you're going to fix the cap has to be fixed through your top four players, and I mean those are Dubas's boys, right? And by the way, I'm not saying go trade Austin Matthews. I'm not saying that. I'm just. Sorry, my picture disappeared for a second. Give me a second, boys. Working with my phone.
And there goes Norm Rumack. One of the greatest highlights on Rumack and the Greek in the 2-year history of this program, man. That's some of the best stuff that could ever happen. Norm finally silenced. Hopefully for good. Nah, okay, just kidding. Norm will be right back with us. But again, you Leaf fans, all right, I'm hearing you understand the pain, the frustration. But again, don't overreact because you're just one of a handful of clubs. 31 in fact.
Complicated, they make these.
Rumack, I'm in the middle of a soliloquy of sorts. Be quiet. Yeah. One of 32 teams. All right. First question is: has Dubas done enough in your estimation for a new contract? Just a yes or no. We don't want you to write a book. Just yes or no. Answer the Greek like you're on the stand, man. We don't want to hear a story.
I just gave you a 2-letter answer. No.
What?
No.
Does Brendan Shanahan deserve to come back?
Well,
then don't look like you're going to go into Norm mode. Yes or no?
Okay, on the surface, I'd say no.
All right, good. Sheldon Keefe.
Well, okay, Sheldon. No, I'm not saying. Let me explain.
I'm not giving him rules, Rumack.
No. I know. I got rules too.
Yes or no?
I give him 1 year plus an option. Club option.
So you don't want. So you want the Shanny plan gone, but you've seen enough in Sheldon Keefe that you want a new general manager to keep Sheldon Keefe. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
All right. Austin Matthews, yes or no?
Well, you got to extend his contract, yes, but you got to fix that cap with the other 3 players. That's a joint answer. Yes, keep Austin, but do something about that cap. You're not going to make progress unless you do.
All right. Let's forget about the returns. Obviously, hypothetically, which of the four guys do you want to get rid of? Right.
Well,
which of the 4 do you want to get rid of, and which of the 4 can you get rid of? 2 different questions.
Okay, well, I think I can put it all in one answer. You're not moving Marner, you're not moving Matthews. Okay, so let's leave them out of the discussion. So obviously, pick between Tavares and Nylander. At this stage, Billy, in my opinion, Nylander is the one who's going to get you the most in return, and that's what they need. They need numbers. Like, it's not one bit. Goaltending, defense, 3rd and 4th line. They need depth in all those areas, or better depth. So I'm saying Nylander, to me, gets you the most in return. Do you agree or disagree?
It's tough between him and Tavares, obviously, that's not really going out on a limb. Tavares at 11 million, entering his 33rd year on this planet or somewhere around there, is obviously more seen around the league as more of a liability than somebody like that, especially when you consider the game is 200 feet and Tavares only plays relatively effective hockey within a 15-foot radius in front and behind the nets, right? Doesn't have the foot speed, hasn't had the foot speed for a while. Still a point-a-game guy and a great leader and an honest player. Can you sell that? I don't know. I try to sell that, but I don't see who'd be buying it or who'd pick up that ticket at that age, right? Because again, if he's a cap hit and a hindrance to the Toronto Maple Leaf operations, then obviously he's going to be the same no matter where he goes. Right now, can you convince a club that's somewhere looking to get to the salary cap floor, like a Arizona or a club like that, to take on a contract? What you'd have to do? I don't know. Is that something you want to do? You want to discard the guy like trash just because he's a little slow, just because he's again, it's difficult stuff, man. Once you went to bed with 4 guys and paid them all this money, the only way you could have solved this is not to have started it in the first place.
Well, I'll agree.
Not to have done this in the first place. And hold on. As many guys, including myself, said, the minute you committed half your roster money to 4 guys, it was a recipe doomed for disaster. No matter how you slice it, those guys back when that first started, and this was part of the plan, have been proven correct. And it's now time for the Leafs to find a way out of the what in essence is their foundational piece of their organization, the core 4. Yeah.
Well, and like I say, Nylander will get you the best combination of whatever it's going to be, either, player, maybe guys who are ready to play now, maybe top prospects, or maybe that and draft picks. But Nylander is the one who can get you that return and then help alleviate that lack of depth. Now, I mean, they're good enough to make the playoffs, but if they're talking about winning the Stanley Cup, depth is a big issue that has to be resolved, and that's something that has to be resolved.
Really, for me, you know what? And as strange as it sounds, and again, the first thing they'll ask you is, has Joe Wall done enough for you to put him in competition for the starting job as kind of one of the only Leaf goaltenders out there? If you want to save on the salary cap and you want to circumvent it in some respects, he's making $675,000. Do you think he's done enough to earn the job at a minimum wage spot in that position?
Well, he's done enough to be in the conversation for sure. Yeah, to be one of those competing for the job. Sure,
absolutely. And again, when you've spent the entirety of your budget, like if you're going grocery shopping and you spent all your money on meats and like I do every now and then, right? And you only got a few bucks, you got to be selective with your vet. So again, the Leafs got to save money where they can. For me, the acquisition of McCabe was good moving forward. You're pretty tied to Riley, and frankly, a lot of people that come on here that were dogging Riley all year, telling him he's not. He was the best Leaf defenseman. He was the best player on the Toronto Maple Leafs all playoffs, and arguably the best player on that ice in the Florida series, regardless of the uniform. Even in the loss, he was the best player on the ice. He showed a lot. There was a lot of Leaf guys that. But here's the issue, and again, that the Toronto Maple Leafs in their core 4, here's the one thing they can never do. They can never do is create space. You saw Marner, you saw Matthews. When those guys don't have time and space, Norm, I've said this 100 times, they can't produce at the levels they're accustomed to. And there's only one place in the NHL nowadays, guys like Matthews, Marner get time and space. That's on the power play, right? And if you're not drawing any power plays and you happen to go for 2, those guys get shut off. Because, again, if you're a Paul Maurice, right, what do you want to do, Norm? If you're in Paul Maurice's shoes, who do you focus on, Norm? What do you want to do? You believe that if you shut down Matthews or Marner, you got a good shot to win the hockey game, right?
Well, not only that, but you saw, even though Tampa Bay lost the series, I mean, they should have won, but that's a separate story. But what did Tampa Bay did well, or what they did do well, was a good strategy, especially in terms of limiting the Leaf power play, was clogging up. It's almost like borrowing a page from the old New Jersey Devil neutral zone trap, except no hooking and holding. But like you say, limiting the space of Toronto's best players when they're coming out of their own blue line. That's what Tampa Bay did well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's guys. So if we're looking at this conversation, all right, we look at this at Leaf fans. What do they say waking up today in Edmonton? Because obviously there's a whole different issue. And again, if I'm the Edmonton Oilers, I think in some ways Edmonton mirrors Toronto in terms of the disappointment, in terms of the head scratching, in terms of the inability to properly understand. Because if you look at that Edmonton team, right, and on paper, Toronto on paper, you wonder, how can you lose to Vegas, right, and really have the Leafs lose in the end to Florida? And you can sum it up in this way, that the Achilles heel of both the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs in some respects was their goaltending. They rolled the dice. Toronto rolled the dice with Murray and Samsonov, and Edmonton got left with an unproven guy in Skinner and an albatross of a contract in Campbell, 5 for 25, right? And again, how are you going to figure that out? That's one of the toughest spots in hockey to get right. So many clubs historically have struggled with that, and it appears it's happening to Edmonton. How long did Philadelphia struggle for in terms of finding somebody between the pipe? Almost 2 decades, right?
Yeah, although they lost the Stanley Cup with the MVP in net, Hextall, right? He won the Conn Smythe when they lost Edmonton. So they had a little bit of an opposite situation back then. But anyway, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and again, those are questions that are left to be answered. But when you wrap up the season, it's like again, it's a whole lot of nothing, except the fact that you won 5 games in the playoffs this year. Stanley Cup has still evaded you. You won 5 games instead of the 4, and you're back. So you've been doing this for 7 years, and it's about time that we know that somewhere within the core 4, something's going to change. It's just a matter of time before this happens, and we'll tune in and respond when that time comes.
Yeah, well, they've got and the teams that are rebuilding, are going to probably start catching up on them a little bit. Maybe not all in 1 year, but sooner or later, a team like Buffalo, Ottawa started to turn the corner. They got some great young players, right? Sooner or later, within the Leafs division, things are going to get tougher just in the regular season. That's also got to be a concern.
Yeah.
Right?
One of the followers of the program asked if Norm Rumack would consider calling the Winnipeg Jets GM and inquiring on Connor Hellebuck in terms of maybe solving the goaltending issue in Toronto. Is that something that you'd be inclined to experiment with?
Yeah, that could be.
There he is again, man. What do you want me to say? Look around here, man. If anybody's watching this program and is willing to, is a big fan of mine, just give me a call, personal message me. This apartment's a shithole, man. It really is. Look at all these dishes, clothes. I need some help, and I need it in a big way. Anyways, we're just waiting to have Norm Rumack back. We'll get our esteemed producer Joe Pesich on with getting Norman back. And
yeah, I'm back.
Norm,
is there a full moon? Is there a full moon tonight, or what?
I don't know if there's a full moon, but every time you leave me, I get scared, man. The Greek can't handle it. Yeah, I need my man Rumack beside. I can't punch myself, right?
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, Billy, I'm glad I earned my keep with you one way or another. That's good to know.
Honest to God, I get lost without you, Rumack. 1 minute is 1 minute too long. So let's turn the page. Take a look. First of all, a little thank you to Nikki Borsch at Carpets for Life for helping the production costs of this program and keeping us going. The same goes to the Central Ontario Standardbred Association. We appreciate you and thanks for your continued support.
Looks like we got to go, Billy.
Well, we got to go. Let's take a look.
So says the boss man, Joe.
Oh, I did. You know what? I'm looking at my thing and I see 53:19 on the screen. And again, maybe that's my clock. I apologize, guys. I thought it was 6:53. I looked down at the screen and it's 7:09. So again, time flies. Thanks for filling in for me, guys, and picking me up. And I appreciate it very much. For those of you watching for the first time, welcome aboard. If you're watching on replay or down the road, thank you for your what do we call it, Norm? Thank you for your patronage. Anyways, we thank Joe, thank JYD, thank everybody associated with the program, and I'll be a little better next Monday. Norm, who knows? He'll show up too. All right, so we'll see you when we see you. Take good care. Bye-bye.
God bless everybody.